Of course, the when, the who, the how, and this whole thing, as Lindsay was alluding to, still a mystery. So that's why we have former Toronto Police Detective Mark Mendelson joining us this afternoon to talk more about this. I realize you don't sort of have specifics on this case, but what do your spidey senses tell you about how a heist like this could have unfolded?
This was not a random visit to a cargo area where, a bunch of guys were going to go in and think that they would open up a case and find, 1,200 DVD players. This was planned. It was deliberate. It certainly took more than one individual. Apparently, the weight of this gold is in excess of 3,600 pounds. So, you have to have, the mechanism to get it out of there. So what Peel will be looking at now is who was the original sender of this shipment of gold and other high-end material. It went to Toronto. It went into a warehouse, which apparently was not airside. It was the public side of this warehouse. And where was it supposed to go from there? And who had access to the manifest? Who knew what was in this container? From where it originated to where it ended up in the warehouse. And when you look at places like this, you know that there are security cameras and there are access cards and what have you. This stuff had to be taken out in a truck. Yeah. You're not going to take it out in a knapsack. So they'll be looking at video from all over the place. This happened on Monday. We don't know what the police have been doing from Monday till yesterday when they announced it publicly. But they're also looking at the number of people that were involved. I mean, you just don't steal 3,000 plus pounds of gold without having a destination for it. You can't walk into, the cash for gold guy on Yonge Street with 600 bars and say, how much am I going to get for this? So there has to be somebody to move it, to traffic this stuff. So they'll be looking at that. They'll be dealing with people that they've dealt with in the past who have, catered to this type of transaction. It may take a while to sort this out. But on the other side of the coin, from an investigative point of view, they're going to be looking at it and thinking, if you've got 2 or 3 or 4 people involved, all you have to do is identify one of them. And when you do, that person's going to try and minimize their involvement, and the best way they do that is to roll over on everybody else. Right. They're criminals, and they live by the code that the less time in jail, the better for them. So that'll be part of the psychology behind it. But right now, they're going to be looking at all the videotape, who had access to these manifests, who knew this material was in that warehouse at that time.
So when you consider that, when you consider the security swipes that would need to get into the building, the video coverage or the video cameras, the fact that you'd need a truck and that kind of thing, it sounds to me like, in relative terms, there's a lot of pieces to the investigation that are likely there for the police to look at and analyze. But it took until Thursday to hear something about that. What can you interpret, or what could we interpret from that?
All I can glean from that is that Peel Regional got the report on Monday, and they started to conduct their inquiries right off the bat. And they didn't want the interference of everybody knowing about this investigation. So obviously there were steps taken between Monday and Thursday from an investigative point of view that they didn't want the public to know about, they didn't want the media to know about, and probably they didn't want the people who work in that particular warehouse to know about as well. And they've probably done all of that, so none of that could have been tampered on that 4-day interim period. And that's what they did. That's their initial groundwork. And now they've come forward with it, because you can't just steal $20 million worth of gold and not tell anybody. And we all know what human nature is. People need to talk. And at this point, it's out there. People will be talking. And somebody may just turn around and call Crime Stoppers or call somebody and say, you know what, I was in a bar last night, and some guy was going on about these gold bars and what he plans on doing and moving to another country. That's the type of information that'll be generated from this.
It's going to be fascinating to watch this investigation unfold. Mark Mendelson, thanks for joining us this afternoon to talk about it.
My pleasure, Nick.
I appreciate this.